Today we are making apple crisp for two. It's the perfect fall dessert and the perfect amount for 1 or 2 people. It's easy, delicious, picky eater proof, and you are gonna love it. Hi, I'm Leanne from YourHomeBasedMom.com, and today we're making apple crisp for two. I think apple crisp is one of my favorite fall desserts. And today I'm going to share with you a secret ingredient that my sister-in-law shared with me that makes this apple crisp even better. Let's get started. Now, a fruit crisp is such an easy recipe to put together. Now, most recipes call for a 9 by 13 pan. That's a lot of crisp when it's just you or a couple of you. So this apple crisp for two is the perfect amount. And we're going to use these little ramekins. They measure about 4.5 inches across, and they're the perfect size for a single serving. Personally, I think the best part of an apple crisp is that crunchy, yummy topping that goes on top. Now, this crisp recipe, you could use it on top of berries, you could use it on top of peaches, but today we're going to put it on apples. Now, this recipe has a generous amount of crisp because I like a lot of crisp on my apple crisp. All right, are you wondering what that secret ingredient is I talked about in the beginning? I'm going to tell you. It is graham cracker crumbs. It adds amazing texture and flavor to the crisp, so don't leave it out. We're going to use 2 what I call sheets or 4 squares of graham cracker and make them into crumbs. I just blend it up in my blender. It makes about 1/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs. Then we're going to add in 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of old-fashioned oats, and 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. We're going to mix that all together. Then we're going to add our spices in. We have 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Then the last thing is butter. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of cold butter. And I like to chop it up nice and small because it makes it easier to get it blended in. Now, to blend this in, you can just use a fork, or personally, I just prefer to wash my hands and smush it with my fingers. Okay, so we've got it all mixed together. It just makes a nice, dry, crumbly mixture. All right, now let's talk apples. That's a really important part of an apple crisp. I like to use a nice tart apple. Usually I use a Granny Smith apple, but feel free to use your favorite apple. I've got another little trick for you here. This really helps if you want to prep this apple crisp ahead of time, because we know what happens to apples if we cut them up too far ahead of time. They turn brown. Well, I've got a secret for you, how to stop your apples from turning brown. After I've sliced them up, I peeled them and I sliced them. I put them in a bowl of water that has about 1/2 teaspoon of salt in it. Just let them soak for a minute or two. Take them out onto a paper towel and pat them dry, and I promise you, they will not turn brown. They will stay nice and green till tomorrow, till you're ready to eat them. So that's a little trick for you. If you're going to prep this ahead of time, don't want your apples to turn brown, soak them in some salt water. Then just drain them and pat them dry, and they're ready to use. All right, we can prepare your apples a couple different ways, or cut them up a couple different ways. You can cut them into slices, or you can dice them into cubes too, whichever you prefer. Both will work, but I do like to peel the apple. And you're going to use about 1 apple per person. So the next step is we're just going to take our apples and we're going to pop them into our little ramekins. And I've got 2 apples here, and so I'm just going to divide them in half. Then we're going to take 1 teaspoon of sugar and sprinkle half of it onto each apple. Now, if you're using a sweeter apple, you might not have to add the sugar on. Then we're going to take our crisp topping. And like I mentioned before, I like a lot of crisp topping. So if this is too much topping for you, you don't have to use it all. We're just going to sprinkle it generously over the top of the apples. Okay, once all our topping is on there, they are ready for the oven. They're going to bake at 350 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. You want the topping to get kind of golden brown, and you're going to see the apples getting juicy and those bubbles juicing in there and then you'll know that they're done. All right, one of the great things about this apple crisp is you can totally prep it ahead of time and even bake it ahead of time, and then all you have to do is warm it up right before you're ready to serve it. And there's one more thing it's gonna need, and that is a scoop of vanilla ice cream. It's kind of required at our house. We're ready for the taste test. Make sure you get some of that crisp topping, the apples, the juicy apples, and the ice cream all in one bite. Tastes like fall. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. You can find the recipe for this apple crisp for two in the description down below. And be sure and check out all my other small batch recipes by clicking over here. I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel by clicking down below, and be sure and turn on that little notification bell so that you'll be notified every time a new video drops here on YouTube.